Hey guys, this is a lesson for my beginner buddies out there, and it is the top 5 mistakes I see with my students who are just learning to play electric guitar. Let's get to it. Okay, so this is a top 5 list and also a lesson for beginners in my Beginner Bites channel. And what I wanted to do here is focus on mistakes that I see with students that I've been teaching, and I've been teaching like a long time, decades, and I've seen a lot of students, and there are some common mistakes I see, and this is more for guys playing electric guitar, looking to get into playing some lead, and there's a little bit of stuff about rhythm in here as well. So if you're just starting out and you're just kind of strumming chords on an acoustic and whatnot, this is going to be maybe a step beyond that. But if you're getting into the realm of playing an electric guitar and looking to start playing some leads too, these are the top 5 mistakes I see in that range. And number 1 is when students start learning to play leads and they're doing bends, they bend out of tune constantly. And you really have to work hard to learn how to bend and keep it in tune. It sounds like a dying cat. If you don't get those bends where they need to be when you're playing a lead, and it's really important. And it's something you'll hear like on garage demo type tapes when a guy's playing a lead, and if you hear a bend that's just not in tune, and right away you're thinking, oh man, they got to do some work on this. So let me show you what you can do to practice that and keep the bends in tune. So generally when you're doing a bend, you're doing either a whole step bend or a half step bend. And a whole step is 2 frets, a half step is 1 fret. So if I'm on the note A here on the 14th fret of the G string, and I want to do a whole step bend, I'm bending up to the note B. So if you're playing a lead and you don't hit that and you bend kind of short, it's going to sound weird. It's not dying cat. It's the only thing I can think of. So you really want to get used to hearing that note. So the way to practice it is to just work on playing the note you're looking to bend to and then going back and bending to it. Some of it's ear, some of it is muscle memory, and at different points on the guitar, if you're bending down here like a D to an F sharp on the A string, it's a different amount of tension. It's a different amount of pull, a distance that you're pulling the string. So in the different spots of the guitar, it's going to feel different. So it's going to be more your ear and less muscle memory until you've played all over the place and you kind of know the feel in all the different areas of the guitar. But again, you want to do the simple technique to practice is just to play the note and then bend to the note. Then do it in context of something until it starts to get redundant, until you've practiced it enough, until it's very easy for you to do. So that's the simple way to get to doing that right, and it works the same for half bends as whole bends. If I take, say, the F sharp 14th fret on the E string and I want to bend it a half step, that's to a G. So you just have to play that note, bend to it. If it's a whole step, you just get used to hearing the note as a regular fretted note and bending up to it again. Very simple. Do that until you've got it to the point where you can play it in context. Number 2, another thing when you hear leads being played in like a garage demo or something like that, and there's a little something missing, and it sounds the difference between a remedial sounding player and something that has more feel and starts to sound more professional, is often just a lack of vibrato. Guys will play a line, they'll end on a note, and just sit there. It's almost hard for me not to vibrato. It's automatic at this point. So you want to, most of the time when you stop, you want to have some kind of vibrato. Slow, fast, vary it. And the way you do a vibrato, very simply, is it's a micro bend. You're bending up a little bit, coming down, maybe going the other way down. And everybody's own vibrato is going to be a unique thing. It's part of your voice and your style on the instrument. So to work on it, you just want to maybe do a lot of playing something very slow with a lot of stops. And just get used to doing that vibrato, feeling it, and get it to the point where you're like me, where you feel weird if you're not doing it, so that at least it's second nature to you. And one little note I want to add to that is when you're doing the vibrato, if you're finding it difficult because of finger strength, as with the bends, you can use, if you're doing it, say, with your third finger, with your ring finger, you don't have to have just that finger on the fret. You can have both fingers behind it. Same thing with the bend. I'm using all my fingers, not just that one, which would be really hard. So with vibrato and with bending, use whatever fingers you have available to you to make it easier. Okay, number 3 is actually more of a rhythm thing and much more common on electric guitar than acoustic, especially if you've played an acoustic a bunch and are switching over to an electric. And that is when you're playing chords to accidentally bend them out of tune because you're pulling on the strings too hard. You're used to having more tension perhaps. So you're doing like, I'll play a simple kind of power chord thing here. Good, it's in tune. I played it light. You can end up playing it to pulling on the strings, and it sounds like the guitar's out of tune. You get pressed down on the frets too hard and do that. Cool if you're doing it on purpose and you're looking for an effect, but for the most part, when you're playing chords, you want to play with a light touch with your left hand. So it's just something to be cognizant of, and it's just a matter of playing with a light touch and practicing. Listen for it when you listen back to your recordings. Be aware of it. Be thoughtful to be gentle with your left hand, and you will not bend them out of tune. Okay, another one I see when guys are moving from that beginner to intermediate stage is they're playing leads and they're trying to play way too fast, and the whole thing's a mess. And you have a part, it's like dead notes in there, just crunchy awfulness. I do at times say that it's okay to play a little bit above your ability and to play something that's a little too fast and not totally precise because of an emotion that you're going for. You get a little bit wild, you have that wide vibrato, and it gets a little sloppy. A little bit of sloppiness like that's okay, especially if it's in the context of something where you're letting like rage out almost, and that's the emotion you're trying to get through. But you don't want to get to the point where it was like that first thing I did where it's just an absolute sloppy mess. And so again, this is a matter of being thoughtful. Play your parts slow, play them to a metronome, work on them at much slower tempos and work your way up. Not only will you get them more clean and accurate, but you're also going to play them in time instead of kind of playing your fast parts and floating around time and around the rhythm and playing so fast that you don't even realize you're not in time and something just sounds wrong, but you don't even know what it is. It's very important to work on this stuff slowly and work your way up, just like you learn to crawl, walk, and then run. You don't start off running or you're falling all over the place. All right, so number 5 and my last tip for beginners is less of a technique one and more of a sound decision one. And that is that so often in beginner recordings, I hear the player using way too many effects. When you first get your effects, they're like toys. You want to play with them, chorus, delay, too much reverb, whatever it is, and you hear it in a mix and it's just mush. And part of the reason that happens is when you first get your effects, you play with them so much that your ear just gets used to hearing it all the time, and you don't realize how significant that effect is next to a dry track. Flange is a good example of this. If you've been playing with it on for a bit, you get to a point where you don't even notice it's there anymore. And when you go to do it in a recording, you'll usually put way too much of it on there. So I've got like something dialed up here where it sounds like the way I would have recorded a guitar part back in like the late 80s when I didn't know what I was doing and I just loved the effects too much. You can hear tons of delay, flange all over the place, and lots of reverb, and it's a wash. And if I've been playing with that sound on for a while, it doesn't sound that way to me. It's almost like when you get used to the taste of something and you don't even taste it anymore. So when you record with it, you want to dial this stuff way back, and when you walk away from it and come back and listen to it in context, you will notice it sounds a lot better. Let me quick do that same kind of thing, but with the right amount of effect on. And that's even a heavy amount of it, but it's about as much as you can get away with. So Again, it's just something to be cognizant of. And I'd say the rule of thumb with beginner players is whatever the amount of effects you think is right is, use half of that. That's usually about how much of it you want in the mix based on what you're used to hearing. So there are the top 5 things that I see my beginner students doing, or the beginner electric guitar player students doing, and the ways to solve them. So hopefully you were able to make sense of that, and maybe these are some things you've seen in your own playing, or maybe you're getting to that point where you're going to be doing some of what I'm talking about here, and you can be cognizant of it before you even get to making those mistakes. So that covers this lesson, and as always, guys, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.